Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I am going to share with you poetry from a couple of magazines in honor of community poetry, open mic that used to be here in Austin but closed down because of the pandemic. I'm going to share with you two poems that are in the new issue of cc&d magazine, April 2023 issue, that is titled Claustrophobia. This first one, I think maybe both of them, will also be in the Scars Publications book, Twitterverse, Periodic Table Poetry. This is because people would submit writing named after periodic table elements, and so I would follow them up with periodic table poems, which they really, really appreciated. So I'm going to share with you two of them from this book, and they're for the element rubidium. This first one is titled Rubidium, Deep Red Explosions. Your deepest red shows through when you set the air on fire. We throw water, try to put you out, and you convert it to gas. How do we stop your explosive side when you serve no purpose? Your unnatural nature scares us. We can tuck you within, or else you explode in your deep red glow. I hope you like my silver theme today. That was your first rubidium Twitter length poem, and this next one is a longer one because as I'd get toward the end I would find new things about these elements. And I would also release them to come up with images, and I'm going to show you an image from this one as well. This one's titled Rubidium Leads the Way to a New State. Uh-oh. Science content, science content. This is Rubidium Leads the Way to a New State. States of matter. I know we've mastered solid, liquid, gas, plasma, but state 5, the Bose-Einstein condensate, cool atoms to near absolute zero, and every atom acts the same. Cool rubidium with lasers. Bye-bye energy. And rubidium's no longer in the four disordered states. I had to close the book on cc&d for that one. As I said, that's also in Twitterverse Periodic Table Poetry. Me and my silver lips are telling you that. This is going to be really hard to see, but it exists in both of the books. But I've got a color one on the screen, and I'm trying to show it for you guys here, which is next to impossible, but I'm trying. What? This is the piece for it. You can actually see it online, so you can see in color as well. In the books, they're in black and white. Forgive me. I'm sorry about that. But I thought I'd read one more Twitterverse Periodic Table poem, but I don't think I'm going to do it from cc&d magazine because I'm an editor of 2 literary magazines. It is also in the current Down in the Dirt April 2023 issue, which is titled Floating Island. Floating Island. So this next piece is a Twitter-length periodic table poem that is in both of these books, and I hope you enjoy. Oh, this is for potassium, the element potassium. This is Potassium and Chef Boyardee. Doctors say you need more to stop the muscle cramps. Eat bananas, but bananas have fractions of what you need. Supplement jars? That much would kill you. Now, don't fret. 1 can of Chef Boyardee has 8 times the potassium of a banana. What a culinary treat. As I said, that one was in Twitterverse Periodic Table Poetry, and it is also in the Down in the Dirt brand new book that was just released titled Floating Island. However, I'm going to read to you the actual periodic table element for potassium because, as I had said before, people send writing that are named after periodic table elements, so I follow them up with my poems. They're from books, and they think that's just the coolest thing, which pleases me. So this next one I'm going to read to you is just for potassium, which is not only in this Down in the Dirt book, Floating Island. By the way, relates to an element after this is done. But this poem is also in the original Scars Publications book, The Periodic Table of Poetry, which is 118 elements, and it's $11.18 for 1 through 118 in the periodic table. Anywho, so I'm going to share with you this poem in here, and it is titled, Potassium. Every once in a while, in the middle of the night, I wake up in massive pain as one of my legs convulses, and it feels like my leg's in a vice grip as my muscles cramp at me defiantly until I attempt to stand to battle the pain, until I hold onto my bed frame, struggling until the pain ends. That's when he tells me, leg cramps? You're low on potassium. You should eat a banana every day. So if there are bananas in the house, I'll eat one the morning after one of those leg cramp episodes, because even though I'm a vegetarian, I'm really not that fond of bananas. But wait, I take a multivitamin daily. That has to have all the potassium I should ever need. So I read the label on my multivitamin jar, scanned for potassium, and see that it only has 2% of my USRDA. Wait a minute. That doesn't make sense. So I look for potassium supplement jars, and as a rule, they don't exist. At first glance online, potassium hydroxide is available after you fill out a hazmat waiver form, and besides, so potassium hydroxide is used for livestock, and potassium chloride is injectable for pets. And that's when he tells me, oh, they don't sell supplements of just potassium because it's toxic if you take too much. So, since it's the health risk, they don't sell it. And all I can think is that I took a ton of if I took a ton of multivitamins, that would probably be toxic too. So then, in frustration, I looked to find the average amount of potassium in a banana. It was 3%. Really? 3%? That's all I need to stop my leg from cramping at night? Then why is the USRDA for potassium so high? And how bad for you can potassium be if they can't put enough into a multivitamin and they won't even release it as a supplement? Then, while shopping, I looked at a flip-top sale can of Chef Boyardee at Kmart for $1. And the can was for whole grain lasagna. I looked at the back label with the nutritional facts, and I saw that it had 98 milligrams of potassium, which was 28%. So even though there was a ton of sugar and a ton of salt and fat in a can of Chef Boyardee, I could start shuffling down that pre-processed pasta instead of bananas to get my leg cramps to stop at night. I mean, if I can find a surplus of potassium in a prepackaged can of Chef Boyardee lasagna, maybe I should look for potassium in other sales at the front of this local store. So, let's see. Jolly Ranchers don't have potassium. Swedish Fish don't have potassium. Willy Wonka Nerds don't have potassium. Nestle Goobers don't have potassium. A can of Green Giant sweet peas doesn't have potassium. A bottle of Italian salad dressing doesn't have potassium. A bag of rigatoni noodles doesn't have potassium. And I really doubt I should be living off cans of Chef Boyardee whole wheat pasta lasagna. Besides, I think I'd be too afraid to even eat lasagna from a can. Really? So, I'm sorry, but I'm just trying to figure out why you need potassium in your diet so much if you can't even find it easily in foods. And since they say bananas have potassium, I looked into it. Since potassium is needed in plant production, because it's found in many vegetables as well as fruits, like bananas, I suppose, but the way we mass farm now in this global economy, it's even leading to a depletion of potassium in the soil. And the thing is, potassium is usually found ionized in salts, meaning that its water solubility gives potassium many chemicals in its ionized forms, which I suppose is good for us humans since we are over 50% water. And this is the weird part. Because potassium is so water soluble, it is never actually found as the pure elemental potassium. The English first called potassium potash, derived from the old Dutch word for the way it was extracted after evaporating solution in a pot to leave traces of potassium like ash, and was first primarily used in the production of glass, bleach, or soaps, which seems totally fitting because of its water solubility. But a German researcher introduced potassium into fertilizers, which is awesome for us humans who need potassium for our cells. So potassium could be in all of our plants and fruits. But now it seems, due to some mass farming, that potassium fertilizers won't be enough, especially when in this modern age we usually opt for processed foods lacking potassium instead of fresh fruits and vegetables. And yeah, because of its solubility with water, it can react with some of the elements like hydrogen producing a ton of heat, or halogen detonating with a bromide, or even have explosive reactions with sulfuric acid. Wow. Just that totally reminds me of how potassium, like so many elements we need in our lives, can also have terrible repercussions when mixed in just the right way with just a select few elements. Because if I can get potassium into my body in just the right and natural way, maybe then I'll stop having muscle spasms at night, reminding me that I'm deficient in the element that all my cells so desperately need. Oh, sorry. That's a fun one. It was actually fun to be like the science geek and learn about these things. Oh, and I was going to tell you a little thing about periodic table stuff with this. When we were coming up with a title, which titles are based on accepted writings of the books, and there's something in the long title of something Floating Island is one of the pieces in here. And as soon as I thought of that, I thought of element 118 in the periodic table, which I'm not going to read to you because, although I just see it right here, Oganison, when it talks about an island of stability looking for things in this element. So, as you can see, it's here in the book. And it's also in this one, but I'm not going to show it to you. I'm not. But I thought, when I did that originally, I created this island off of the tip of Paradise Island, back when it became, back in like 2000, before it was like super hyped. And then I had this element notion put on top of it. So then I said, I'm going to take that and use that for the cover, and then add some mountains that were in Antarctica. So I've got like this great collage here of things that are for the cover of this, derived from a Twitterverse periodic table poem. And I hope that you've been okay with this reading of four, count them, four periodic table and Twitterverse periodic table poems from both cc&d magazine and Down in the Dirt magazine, the April 2023 issues of Claustrophobia and Floating Island. I hope you've enjoyed this reading. I hope you've enjoyed your warning science content. And I want to thank each and every one of you for listening, enjoying the live feeds, and keeping this thing running strong. I hope everyone is staying creatively inclined. I hope everyone is staying safe, because this is only running here because the open mic stopped after the pandemic began. So stay safe, stay creatively inclined, and I look forward to talking to each and every one of you again, especially in this next 2-hour time period in honor of community poetry. Thank you, and thank you in the live feed as well. Thank you so very much. Thanks.